Saints, welcome back to another episode of Prophetic Updates with Lighthouse Beams Ministry. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe, click the notification bell so that you'll stay updated. Share with your friends so that they can be blessed by these presentations as well. We'll begin by what happened last week. Fauci confessed before the Congress that most of the things that he has talked about during the pandemic and the regulations that was imposed upon the masses were basically fraud. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this presentation, but before we go into a presentation, we're going to talk. I'll just read from Matthew chapter 24 before we begin. Matthew chapter 24 talks about end time things, these things that will be happening in the last days. And he said, Jesus speaking, he said, and there shall years of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things shall come to pass, but the end is not yet. And then verse 7 says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. One of the things that we're going to be looking into is pestilence that are going to be coming upon the world. Now, there's two ways that pestilence can come upon the world. It can be natural, and now because of technology and what man can do, because of the increase of sin in the world, man can actually invent sickness upon in this world. That's what we're going to present in this in this segment as well. Now, most of the things in this platform that we talk about, many people would call it conspiracy theory. But to us, conspiracy, is it? Yes, it is a conspiracy, but is it a theory? We would like to say that no, we are not anti-jabbing. We are pro-truth. We are not anti-government mandate or government regulations. Again, we are pro-truth. We try to show with facts to show that these are not just conspiracy theories, but these are conspiracy, yes, but that is highly likely to be true based upon evidences. So in the book of John chapter 8 verse 32, the Bible tells us that ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Friends, if you do not know the truth, there are serious disadvantages and consequences that can occur when you do not know the truth. This is in relation to spiritual aspect as well as to our physical life. You have to know the truth. Everyone's pursuit is for the truth as we live in this life. Now, we talk about a lot of things in this channel that were categorized as conspiracy theory, but which were proven to be true. We also talk about the lethal and the deadly substances that are involved in the jabs that we receive. We talk a lot about the way in which it was imposed upon the masses, and we show that they usually, when they do testings of normally in the past about the jab, they used to test it over a period of 5 years, but the latest one, which they used during the pandemic, the COVID, it was actually tested within 10 months, rolled out after 10 months. The whole world became a guinea pig of big pharma, so to say. Now, at least they would have allowed freedom of conscience so that the people could choose, seeing and weighing the differences, they could choose for themselves. But what did? They forced it upon the masses. Now we're going to go back and look at some things that we have talked about as conspiracy theory, but now it's no longer conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy facts as of now, as we speak at the moment. Now, look at the screen. The first article is from NBC News. It says, FDA warns that J&J jabs, pestilence 19 jabs, for possible link to rare neurological disorder. Now, this is from 2021, by the way. They said the FDA said, adding the warning label to Johnson & Johnson, that the pestilence 19 jab following reports of 100 cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome in the patients that received the jab. 95% of the cases were serious enough to require hospitalization, and one person actually died. The FDA said in a statement on Monday. Now, what are we saying here? They are saying that now probably the Johnson & Johnson shot actually aggravated the situation. Well, guess what? It's not only Johnson & Johnson. This is only one case, but the Pfizer, Moderna, all of those, AstraZeneca, were proven to cause some side effects. Now, it is not small side effect, great side effect upon the masses. Now, look at the screen. This is from last April 30. It says, true toll of blood clot side effects victim of AstraZeneca COVID jab may never be known, lawyers claim. Now, we may never know the true number of people laid low by the rare but devastating complications relating to AstraZeneca jab. Lawyers representing families have told Mail Online. Now, so what are we seeing here? They're saying that the shot actually aggravated the situation or causes some side effects that were very deadly upon the people. Now, another year, this is just this month. We're trying to present to you real-time evidences. Now, this is a very serious one. Look at this, the red writing. Let's look at the title says, pestilence 19 jabs may have helped fuel rise in excess death. What are they saying here? Now, instead of healing the pandemic, instead of healing the disease that came, they're now saying that it may actually cause more deaths. Researchers from the Netherlands, the Dutch, analyzed data from 47 Western countries and discovered there may be more than 3 million excess deaths since 2020, with the trend counting despite the rollout of the jab containment measure. Even after the shot, there are still more than 3 million deaths after that. Now they are questioning what is the cause of this death? Is it the sickness? Is it the pandemic that is causing it? But their conclusion, according to their conclusion, it's not actually the pandemic. It's actually the shot that people actually received. As the title suggests, the shot, the jab may have helped fuel rise excess death. And that is very true. We've known situations in which there are people who did not have they just went to get the shot because the government enforced it upon them, or because just to preserve the job, just to go to school, just to go to public places, they had to get it and then get the card so that they can visit those places. And all of a sudden they became sick. A lot of cases where they were censored online when they were shared, but nevertheless, we still have some of those data. But now they are collecting all this and they are saying that the shot may have increased the likeliness of the deaths, increased the toll of the death. This is one of the doctors in the United States. He was actually, his license was actually restricted from the Washington state because they said that most of the information that he was sharing was actually disinformation during that time. Now we are saying that most of the information that those people were saying was censored on social media platforms, who spoke up for the truth, were actually right. And this is one of them. This is Dr. Ryan Cole, a medical professional.
What can we do to hold these doctors accountable for pushing these jabs that say they're safe and effective? What can we do?
Yeah, well, safe and effective is a lie and violates our federal truth in advertising laws. The state of Kansas, their legislature took the ads off the media because they looked at the data and said, this is a lie, they're safe and effective. So at least one state in the United States has said, look, stop this false advertising. What can you do? Okay, can you sue these big pharma companies? No, they're protected by the CARES Act. But what you can do is you can sue your doctor for not giving you informed consent. If you are injured by a shot, or you know somebody who's injured by a shot, you need to file a suit against a physician because nobody in the world got informed consent. They didn't tell you about antibody-dependent enhancement. They didn't tell you about the risks of myocarditis. You can't get a J&J under age 18 now because the federal government at least admits now that it is the clot shot that I called it over a year ago, because J&J causes excess clotting. But you know what? Pfizer and Moderna, there are more reports in the VAERS system of clotting than there was for J&J. And yet they put a black box warning on J&J and not on Pfizer and Moderna. They cause clotting. They are known to cause myocarditis. If a physician is giving these and not saying, look, these can cause clotting, these can cause myocarditis, these can cause acute anaphylactic reactions and death because polyethylene glycol, they're not giving you informed consent.
Okay, pause there. Now, what are we seeing here? Again, the world became the guinea pig of big pharma. They didn't know what was contained in those things. They didn't even do a research and do a thorough usually, again, the process takes 4 to 5 years to actually prove that those vaccines were actually healthy for the masses. But this one was rolled out within 10 months. No one knows what it could cause. And now they are seeing it. And even after seeing it, they still enforce it. They suppress the minority voices that said that there is some alarms, we should sound the alarm, there's something wrong about these things. But after millions of people have lost their lives, now they are coming out to say all these things. J&J, one of the worst ones, they are saying it was now you cannot get it if you are under 18 years old. Why? Because it causes blood clotting, it causes coagulation, it causes heart disease problem. Now, even when how serious the misinformation is. Again, we're talking about truths. Truth was suppressed during that time, and false ideas were placed upon offered freely, readily to the masses, even when they saw with their own eyes. And this is one of the cases that I'm going to see where I saw you where a nurse was actually received the shot, she fell down, and yet they said it is not because of the jab. Look at this.
A nurse is vaccinated, but just minutes later, this happens.
I'm sorry.
Tiffany Dover fainted as she spoke to reporters at a hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But it turns out it wasn't a reaction to the vaccine. Tiffany has a medical condition and faints often. She quickly recovered and spoke to reporters.
I have passed out probably 6 times in the past 6 weeks. It's common for me.
It's very common. People should not use that as a barometer for not taking the COVID-19 vaccine.
Oh yeah, it's very common. Well, it's common to a lot of cases where a lot of people got it and then they dropped dead. At least, shall we say, maybe it caused it? Or maybe if you had a pre-existing condition, could it aggravate the situation? At least, could we admit to that? How about that? Well, that they even said no. That is how the information was suppressed, censored. Now, I actually became aware of this when I was doing my flight training. The news actually got out that all the major aviation industries were actually, if you were flying during that time, you may have noted that they said 2 weeks after you received your shot, you cannot fly. Why? Because in the air, it has low oxygen level, and if you get a shot, you are in a situation where you could have a high blood pressure, and they didn't want you to have that when you were up in the sky where there's low level of oxygen, because you could suffer and die. So that was when I realized that, oh, seriously, this is not a regular shot. It has something in it. Now, after sometimes, just last week, the world came to its senses. They had to bring the man behind the scene, Mr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci, Anthony Fauci, in the United States, the man who was standing right in front of the media, blowing the trumpet of the government, of big pharma, of World Health Organization, for people to get the shot, to follow the mandates of he came out to apologize publicly. Now, these are the things that he actually apologized to. Let's listen. Take a listen.
I'm going to go down a list of mitigation measures that you supported over the course of the pandemic and ask you just to give a yes or no as to whether you still believe these measures were justified. Business closures.
Early on, when 5,000 people were dying a day, yes.
Church closures.
Same thing.
School closures.
Again,
stay-at-home orders.
These were important when we were trying to stop the tsunami of deaths that were occurring early on. How long you kept them going is debatable. How long you kept them going is debatable.
Mask mandates for adults, mask mandates for children, mask mandates for children under 5. There's scientific evidence supporting that?
There was no study that did masks on kids before. You couldn't do the study.
Vaccine mandates for employees, vaccine mandates for students, vaccine mandates for military. Did or do the vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccines, stop anyone from getting COVID? They did.
No, actually, no. In the beginning, it clearly prevented infection in a certain percentage of people, but the durability of its ability to prevent infection was not long. It was measured in months.
And they didn't stop you from spreading it either.
What became clear that it did not prevent transmission. It did not prevent transmission.
Again, what is he saying now? It did not prevent the transmission, but they realized that even earlier. That is the thing. They realized even earlier, but they did not say that. They did not remove those mandates that were placed. Earlier years, they told people to stay at home. Church closed down, perhaps. Even some clubs were open, some places were open. The first place to be open was sports stadium, with the clubs. But churches were still on lockdown. We'll talk about religion later. But what am I trying to say here? those mandates, even though they saw it, even though they saw the side effect of it, even though they saw that it did not prevent transmission, they still implemented upon the masses. So what are the things that he admitted to? The masking for the healthy people was fake news. Social distancing. You know, people were actually told not to visit, some people not to visit their relatives. They were rotting in the hospitals because they couldn't go and visit their relatives. The hospital prevented them from visiting their relatives. And even some relatives were afraid of visiting their relatives, and they let them to rot and die. That caused many fear in the lives of the people. Again, they talked about 6 feet distancing. 6 feet distancing. We talk from this platform, we show that the virus, the infectious viruses, it's the same as any other viruses, and it cannot. This is not the supernatural virus that grows wing and flies for 6 distance. It doesn't go more than a feet. It just goes down to the ground. This is illogical things that they implemented. And he actually admitted, which will come to that, business closes, church closes, the jab was not even, it didn't even prevent transmission. Studies proved that earlier on, but they did not show that to the public. They did not show that to the general public. Oh, shame. Why did they actually push this? Because they were making money out of it. And I do not want to go into that information, but you can search those people, those medical professionals who actually supported it, actually got 710 million in the United States alone as royalties. Can you imagine that? There were some people actually making money, while some people were suffering. But why were they making money? Now listen to this very person who was pushing it forward. This is some of the secret messages, recordings that he made.
You believed an institutional should make it hard for people to live their lives so they'd feel pressured to get vaccinated. Could we run the audio clip on that, please?
You think can be done about it. I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological and they get vaccinated.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
This is how the things were. They knew the very outcome of it. They knew that it would cause and force people, those mandates would force people fear, cause fear in their lives. And that is exactly what they wanted. Were they successful? Of course they were successful. They were very successful. Now, these are the articles that prove the same. Dr. Anthony Fauci confesses that he made up pestilence 19 rules. Fauci actually said that 6 feet social distancing rule, he does not know where it came from. He also said that he was unaware of studies that recommend the kids to receive the masking. Another article from the Washington Post. In the pandemic, we were told to keep 6 feet apart. There is no scientific science to support this. What was Fauci saying, if you remember? He said, we represent science. But guess what? What kind of science? And these are the things that even doctors did not try to reprove. Check into those things and tell us. We're waiting for people to die before they come up with those things. Sadly, now many people have already lost lives. Look at this on the screen. 6 feet apart. They put it right there on the floor. Where did that rule come from? Come from a mouth of a person who just made it up. Imagine that. He just made it up. Now, if you think for a moment that these people really believed, at least you could say, well, maybe he believed that is what he thought to be the good, that is what he thought to be good when he put it upon the masses, when he tell them to follow those mandates. Well, guess what? His action actually tell us that he does not believe in the slightest degree the mandates that he actually impose upon the people. Can you imagine that? That is hypocrisy. Now, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She actually showed something that I want to share with you guys.
This was a time in history where you got to throw out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals baseball game while Americans were forced to stay home and watch such events that they love from at home alone on their televisions. And what a hypocrisy this picture shows. Here you are without your mask, with empty seats everywhere. Remember the cardboard cutout fans? That was one of the most insulting things to Americans, having to watch the games from home where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science.
I'm going to pause it to that, friends. You can see the contrast here where he actually tell the people to do one thing and he didn't do that very thing. Even while sitting in public, even while he was sitting close to people, he didn't put on his mask. Tells a lot. His action actually speaks volume. Good thing they apologize, right? Well, go and apologize to the people who have died already. They will appreciate the apologies, perhaps. Guess what? In the United States alone, statistics have shown that up to 1 million people died during the time. And the sad part is, those mandates that the government was using to impose upon the people were actually made up and did not come from science. The prevention measure was actually a hoax. And actually, the solution they actually brought, the jab, the shot, was a big hoax as well. It was not successful. That's why they said you have to get your first dose, get your second dose, get your third dose. Oh, that's not enough. You can go and get a booster again. Guys, what in the world? When this one was causing a lot of side effects, proven side effects, finally they apologized, right? Well, again, tell that to the people who actually lost their life. Even some people who are alive actually suffered some side effects and they are still alive. But nonetheless, hopefully we'll learn from this and move on. In the future, will they actually say, we apologize, we won't do it again? We're going to show you that that's not the case. They're going to impose stricter measures again in the near future. Friends, if you are blessed by it and want to see the whole video, click here. If you want to see another video similar to that, click here. And do not forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated. God bless you all.